full of actions that we all believe will be the game-changing answers, and I believe that is emerging. We have started some work on doing cost estimates. The work is far from complete, but unless we go to our leaders with a clear sense of what all our efforts will cost, our desire to put together a global action plan will be incomplete. And finally, the question will come, where the money will come from and how the implementation will be done. So step 4 is clearly a task yet to be accomplished. Step 5 is, of course, using Vladivostok and Thailand to engage the senior leadership. And one of the challenges that we all know we realize that we have enormous amount of experience and passion in the tiger community, but dealing with this crisis is not something that we conservationists can do alone. We need other players to join with us. And I think one of the challenges that still remains in step 5, we probably have 2 people who call themselves ex-cops or cops who are here. We need to engage the wildlife law enforcement community much more intensively. We need to engage the infrastructure community. The balance between infrastructure and environmental protection is skewed, but unless we can engage the infrastructure community in buying into our ideas, we're not going to succeed. So there is a challenge out for us. We have to engage finance ministers and finance ministries, and that challenge is still incomplete, and we have a task ahead if you're going to have a successful engagement with our leaders of TRCs to broaden the constituency that we work with. And finally, there is a step 5+, which came as a result of deliberations here. Even if at Vladivostok we can succeed in fully accomplishing step 4 and 5, we do need very robust monitoring systems, not just how results are managed, not just how tigers are doing. We need to be able to show to our leaders continuously how the action plan is being implemented. So let me come to the third question, which is basically what are the 6 things that I think we need to do. It's a proposal, but those are the things we need to do. The NIDs, as we came in, transformed as a result of this morning's response to the question, what are the game-changing actions you would like to do? So we need to get our NIDs continuously brought up to the best possible solid foundation that we need to go forward. Then the thematic work is not complete. And I'm very grateful for the work that thematic leaders from all over the tiger community have done, but there is work yet to be done. Our infrastructure colleagues need to help us to identify which of the 5 or 6 landscapes are most threatened by irresponsible infrastructure now. My hope is that between now and Thailand and Vladivostok, we can get to our leaders, get to our prime ministers and say, if you're serious about stopping the bleeding and starting the recovery, those major TLCs threatened by immediate irresponsible infrastructure must be addressed. Similarly, on law enforcement, I'm wishing that the process that John Seller has initiated to bring Interpol and WCO and UNODC together to basically systemize and organize the support that all of these institutions offer to the very vital area which shows up in every NID presentation, effective law enforcement, whether it is consuming countries, whether it is in tiger-having countries. That aspect needs to be carried to success. On innovative finance, again, we have a whole host of ideas, but we need from that thematic group, what are the 2 instruments which will produce for our tiger action plans new, incremental, sustainable, and quick resources. We cannot launch onto instruments that will produce resources 5 years from now. The crisis is today, so they have to finish that work. We have started estimating some resource needs, but as we realize, the recovery program that we'll have will have many dimensions. We'll have a consumer campaign. We will have to pay for the incremental cost of smart infrastructure. We'll have to pay for greater law enforcement. So we have to kind of continue that work, but make sure we capture the full needs of the global tiger actions that we will need, rather than just focus on landscapes. Similarly, the consumer campaign that we have all found support for needs to now narrow it down. What kind of message will make that mental switch that consumers have? What kind of target audiences we need to reach? What is the right instrument? Are we going to go through political leaders? Are we going to find iconic figures within the countries, is it going to be media people, is it going to be film people? But we need to carry that discussion further so that we don't wait for Vladivostok to launch this consumer campaign. We are all agreed on the importance of it. We do it now. So there's work to be done. And finally, protected area management. We need TRC-wide, robust, scientifically sound monitoring system, management systems, and performance management systems so that one can recognize and reward performance of those reserves that are doing an extraordinary job. And finally, the only positive force going for the wild tiger is ecotourism. And ecotourism cannot be done by amateurs. And we need to find ways as we move forward to get some professionalism into the ecotourism effort. So the third action is to launch the summit process. I'm imagining when a letter goes to all the heads of state from Russia, inviting people to the summit, then instead of all of us pushing our ideas through our governments, imagine when the Prime Minister's office calls up the minister and say, how do I prepare for the summit? And then all our efforts will find a boost. And similarly, the Asian Ministerial Conference will get a huge boost if the summit process is launched. So I think we have to make all kinds of efforts, and this is our request to the Russian delegation, to please get that summit process going. It will put a whole lot of energy and effectiveness into our efforts. The fourth is, of course, to launch the Asian Ministerial Conference. And I'm so grateful to know from the Thai delegation, they've been thinking about it for the last 4 months. The only missing block now is to organically link the results from Kathmandu, where we have liftoff, to our efforts in AMC. I would not be advising anyone, I would not be content if we just have liftoff here and don't do anything incremental between now and Thailand. We have work to do, we have mountains to climb, and I think our momentum that we have and the opportunity to assemble again in Thailand, we will need to carry things further and to make sure that we have an agenda there, we have things to do there that really invite Mr. Ward, honorable ministers, colleagues from other countries to actually show up. And finally, two things that we will do is we will collect all the knowledge that was gathered here, all the action plans that were presented here, to give back to you what you could call a Kathmandu document. Hopefully, it helps you as you go back to start preparing the ministers and the heads of states for the meetings that follow. And finally, we have committed ourselves, all the partners that try to work together and help our national delegations and national governments carry on their program, to get together and offer our support more systematically. We are just beginning. We'll have a retreat tomorrow to try and organize ourselves into more effective country support teams, but that is also the sixth point of the agenda that we still need to do.
Thank you very much for showing us the future road to go. May I invite Mr. Keshav Verma, Program Director, World Bank.
The children of Kathmandu, particularly, who brought a touch of rejoicing and a special passionate appeal when they went, and thousands of them walked on the streets with placards calling for saving their tiger friend. And I think this was the most sublime moment when we were all walking and these children are enthusiastic about the tiger and they are carrying all kinds of placards. I want to thank them particularly for making us keep honest, because they're our next generation. We have not really done a great job in saving tigers. I think we have to motivate this generation to do a better job of it, at least leave some tigers around so they can actually build on that. This workshop, in my mind, when we were thinking in Kathmandu, was supposed to be a technical workshop. It has, as Anand is saying, lifted off and has assumed a much comprehensive dimension. And this has been possible because of the amazing political will and leadership shown by Government of Nepal in positioning this